Hi, Paul Donovan here, avtechnician.ca. Welcome. This is the channel of tips and tricks for AV technicians. Today, I'm going to do something different. Today, I'm going to do a product review of products that were sent to me by a company. Now, last year, I did a couple of videos about PTZ cameras, and the representative from Angekiss contacted me and said, would I like to review a couple of their cameras? And of course I said yes. Who wouldn't like to have a couple of PTZ cameras for free? So if you like my channel, go ahead or like this video, click like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click on subscribe. And there's comments open. Please leave your comments. I really do like your comments. It's amazing how they make me feel. All right, first off, let's just make sure we understand. PTZ cameras. P stands for pan. That's this way. Tilt means this way. And zoom means in and out. Some people refer to these things as robocams. I don't know. I like the word. I just avoid it and call them PTZ. And people say, what is PTZ? Well, PTZ. Anyway. Now, in the company that I work with, we've been exploring getting these for quite a long time. I'm not sure why we haven't actually gotten them. Of course, it usually boils down to the fact that we don't have events that are looking for them, nor do we have staff members who are familiar with them. But we've often done events where we need two cameras. It would be really nice to have had two cameras, or three cameras, or four. And so we've often wished we had them. Now, the boss went out and bought some Panasonic cameras thinking they were PTZ, and they turned out to not be PTZ. And he was very frustrated when he got them because they didn't do what he thought they were. The other area that these things get used a lot is in churches. As you know, as a result of the pandemic, a lot of churches have been looking for ways to get their service online to reach out to their congregations, their parishioners. And a lot of them have been doing it quite successfully, and quite a few of them have been doing it quite poorly, with very poor quality. The church that I go to now has been going with photo cameras, DSLRs, and photo-based tripods using no fancy tools. So I have been working for the last few weeks to upgrade them. So churches are another group that want them. Special events and so on where you need the robocams. And of course, then there's the conference room setups where people want to have the robocams, the PTZ cameras set up for their Zoom room, and so on. There's more of that. That's not an area I want to get into, and I try to avoid it with a passion. But people occasionally reach out to me and say, do you do conference room setups? And I'll say, yeah, I can, but do you really want me? I don't like to turn away work, but it's not my area of expertise. So there are numerous PTZ camera players on the market, manufacturers, distributors, and so on. When I first started looking, this is 4 or 5 years ago, when I first started looking at these, the ones I knew were the brand name PTZ Optics. They were what I still refer to today as the gold standard. They created these cameras, these PTZs, and everybody in the industry was going, wow. But they were $2,000, very expensive, and it's beyond the means of a lot of companies, a lot of churches, for example, which do not have huge AV budgets. A lot of them decided that they were outside their market. So about 4 years ago, during the height of the pandemic, as we were preparing for in-person services again at the church I was going to at the time, we discovered a manufacturer, a company that was selling the same, almost literally the same camera as PTZ Optics, and this company was SMTAV. And what they did is they found a way to sell the same camera for just over $1,000 versus the 2,000. They found a way, and I don't know quite how they did it. So and when our church folded, I ended up adopting the cameras. And so last year I did an event, and while I was at the event, I did some PTZ videos for my channel, which many of you may have watched. And a representative from Angikiss saw these videos, asked me a few questions, and then they said, "Would you be interested in reviewing our camera?" And I said, "Sure, why not? I've never done a review on this channel." I said, "Why not?" So when the person who had these cameras before me was finished with them, they shipped them to me at the end of November, beginning of December. They've arrived. I've been so busy the last 3 months that I haven't had a chance to do anything other than to plug them in and make sure they're working. But I decided now is the time to do a review, my first on this channel, and do a review of these PTZ cameras. So this specific, what I call form factor style, this one that Angekiss has sent me, as you can see in the slide there, that specific format is quite common. The other three you see down below, you see they have similar properties. The first one is PTZ Optic. Second one is SMTAV. The third one is Photomaco or Motomaco. I don't remember the brand name. That was just random ones on Amazon that I did search for. Somebody built the technology, and then the manufacturers in China then in turn took and did their magic of making these things, the plastic forms and all the covers to make them look beautiful. And then now they're being sold under various brand names. Ultimately, the internal technology was developed, I'm going to assume, by one research company who came up with the technology to make these things work. And what has happened is, due to the ingenuity of Chinese manufacturers, they now make these things available to anyone who wants to put their sticker on it. And so when I was looking at PTZ Optics, for example, their camera and the SMTAV camera that our church bought, you put them side by side, you'd never know there was a difference if it wasn't for the label on the front of the camera. And this is what's happening nowadays with so many things, technology and so many things that are manufactured in China, where they just take the technology, rebrand it, repackage it in a way, and then sell it to you where you put your name on it. So I could, I guess, make a contract with the Chinese manufacturers and start selling PTZ cameras with avtechnician.ca on it. Interesting idea. So it's like this. What's the difference between a Toyota, a Mazda, a Nissan, Kia, Hyundai, General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, VW, BMW? I know there's a difference. They all have four wheels. They all have an engine. But the reason we buy these different brands is because of the reputation they have in the market. So PTZ Optics, for example, what I call the gold standard, is one of the most expensive companies I know of, although they're succumbing to the market pressures and coming much more competitive. They were the gold standard in the beginning. And as a result, things are changing. So what's the difference between a Toyota and a Nissan? Reputation of the brand. I wonder, should I go out and try to... No, I'm not going to do that. It's beyond my financial capabilities to get into that level. So let's take a look at the cameras from Angekiss. And thanks, Angekiss, for sending them to me. These are quite the things. It's really, I'm just astounded at these things. And I don't know the price of these because they don't have a North American distributor at this point. So I don't know what the prices are in North America. So let's take a look. The boxes come in a nice, sturdy cardboard box, which is in turn packed inside another shipping box to protect it against the Amazon elephants. Sorry, I don't pick on Amazon. I like Amazon. I'm happy they deliver to my door and they're very fast. But they tend to throw things sometimes. So the shipping box, the packing, the foam that's inside the box protects these things. And that's important because when you actually pick up one of these devices and you look at it, you're probably going to say, this feels like it might be fragile, which it is. Which is why I've always worried if we get into the business, in the rental AV business, like what I've been doing for the last 23 plus years, that these things get thrown around a lot, and we would have to package them in road cases that would prevent them from getting damaged. And so I could see in a rental environment that these things, if they're not properly packed in road cases, could get damaged and broken fairly quickly. But if you're doing a permanent install or nearly permanent install, these things are going to last for years. But your biggest enemy is going to be dust. Inside the box comes the camera. It's got a little rubber lens cap over it to protect the lens, which is great. It comes with an AC power supply, and they come with, depending on where you are, like the ones we have here are the North American power plug. But if they're sold in Europe, they get the European plug, etc. They come with a remote control. They come with a fairly decent length USB-C to Type A USB cable. They come with a serial control cable. I've never used one. That's outside my realm, but it's something that happens from the good old days. And what I found amazing, which I'm finding other companies when I do their deep dive research, a wall mount, a piece of metal, a metal bracket that mounts on the wall along with the various screws needed to mount it. Now, when I bought 4 years ago the SMTAV cameras, we had to pay another $100+ extra to get metal mounts. And so the fact that Angikiss includes these wall mounts into their package, at least on the Sabre 4K, this is a nice bonus. That's like $100 free, $120 free. So this is what's included in the box. Here is the Angikiss 4K Plus camera. This happens to be the camera that I'm currently, you're looking at me. If I look at you, that's the camera that I'm just showing you there. That's the camera that Angikiss sent me. And likewise, 1, 2, 3, away it goes. Look at that. Now that's PTZ in action. You see that? It just decided that it was going to move automatically. I have a preset set for this. Isn't that amazing? So this is one that's behind me. That's taking a picture of the one in front. If I was to do a flip over, I think, there's the camera that is taking my picture, although currently is taking a picture of the other camera. And we can then flip back and forth, and there's the second camera. Now I need to bring me back into this picture. I have to come in and I have to me at desk. There I am. Okay, I'm back. There we go. So now you may have noticed I'm going to now go to Nitro 1 and get that ready. Okay. Now you may have noticed that I was able to remotely control these cameras. Now I am using OBS to do this video. And so as a result, I need to be able to control the cameras. Now there are several ways you can do this, but the one I'm going to show you right now is using the PTZ inbuilt into OBS, all these abbreviations. So here is my OBS. And if you look over here, you'll see that I have installed the PTZ control dock, which is an add-in that you can add into your PTZ OBS program, and it lets you control the cameras. But it has the ability to do pan, tilt, and zoom. You can do presets. That's how I was able to flip back and forth with various shots. And it's built in, it's an add-on, but it becomes a dock in your OBS setup. So there you go. That's moving right along. So now I'm going to show you another way to control your PTZ cameras. And this is using a web browser. So now you see when I log in using the IP number for these cameras, they have their own built-in web browser. So now I'm going to move my mouse over. And so for example, if I go in here and I click login, and I get this stupid Chrome thing, there you see, I now have, not only do I have a demo version or a view of the camera's current shot, and this is camera 1 taking a look at camera 2, I also have the ability to control the camera. So if I go here, you see, left, right, up, down, zoom out, zoom in, And there's focus mode here. So if I'm on auto, then this focus thing has no meaning. And I even have the ability to set presets. I can set, I don't know, it looks like there's 127 presets. I don't have any presets set on this mode, so I'm not using any of this feature to do it. And you'll notice I also have the same thing here for camera number 2. And you see, that's me. Hi, hi, hi. See, that's me. That's my shot. That's this camera taking a look at me. And this is the camera 2. And also, I can use it to tilt, pan, up, down, zoom out, zoom in. I think that's pretty awesome, really, you know. When you think about it, that's pretty awesome. This is a built-in browser for each camera has its own built-in browser. And this is how you can actually set it up. If you go low cost, you can control these things that way. Now, an interesting thing that happened last August with Angekiss is they started selling the Sabre 4K Plus with auto tracking technology built in. These cameras came to me, they were pre-August 2023, so these do not have the auto tracking, so I can't demonstrate that for you. But all the new cameras, if you order these new cameras, almost all of their PTZ cameras in this style have auto tracking technology. I don't have access to one of those. I can't demonstrate it, but it really helps a lot. If you've got a presenter who's a moving person, moves a lot, pastors in churches who move a lot, speakers or whatever, people who are moving about, the auto tracking feature is great. It is not perfect. Like I wouldn't want to be, say, doing a concert with a famous singer who's constantly going like this because the auto tracking feature would probably not keep up. But if you've got a typical presentation happening, a pastor or whatever, who does a little bit of, oh, I'm going over here, and I'm going over here, and the camera will just go, pretend my camera's moving, and it does that. It's a great technology, and it now comes in Angikiss cameras, at least this form factor style. Now, this specific camera has a 12 times optical zoom. So if you're, say, 40, 50 feet away from the presenter that you're videoing, you may get a waist shot or a chest shot. This is one of these head and shoulders shots. You may get that as your best shot, maybe slightly more. If you're in a room that's much bigger than that, say you're further away, then Angikiss also has other models of their cameras that are 20 times and 30 times optical. Now, the cameras I had before, the SMT AV cameras, I had 20 times and had 30 times. One of the challenges when you're on maximum zoom is camera shake. So even if you got this thing mounted on that metal bracket that you've attached to the wall, it still vibrates a little and creates that shake that goes with it. And so you do have to be cautious of the shaking. And so the 30 times and the 20 times, they have their place. If you're in a room that's much larger, we were in a room, let's see, we had our 30 times optical zoom cameras. I believe we were in the zone of 70 feet away from the stage. And they were great, but we couldn't have the camera live, especially the one that was mounted on the metal bracket. We couldn't have the thing live if somebody was standing up in the balcony and walking around, because despite the thing metal bracket, the balcony bounced, and that would show up in the camera. So there are times when you have to decide if 20 and 30 times optical is great. Now, Angikiss also sells conference room cameras, webcams, and other accessories, but I'm not getting into that stuff. That's not what I'm doing today in my talk. I'm talking today about the Sabre 4K Plus cameras. Here's an interesting fact. They sell these as a 4K camera, but when you read the manual, you'll realize that the HDMI output is the only one that is 4K. The SDI output is only high definition 1080. I set things at 1080p because that's what I work with. And so I think it also does 1080i, but I wouldn't hold that to it. But the output is 1080 is maximum on the SDI. I haven't actually tested the USB to see if it outputs 4K, but I'm going to say that there's a real good chance it does have the ability to send out 4K. Now, I caught myself on this one because when the cameras reset to factory reboot, the HDMI was going out at 4K. I don't own a monitor that I was plugged into that is not a 4K monitor, and I couldn't view it. So I had to take the camera and take the HDMI and go to a TV that is 4K in order to see it so I could reset it down to 1080. So you have to think about it. I mean, if you're using any kind of a video switcher, a lot of video switchers are only 1080. You have to make sure your cameras will going to fit. A lot of scenarios like OBS technically can receive 4K video, even 8K for that matter, but you better have a decent computer that can process video at that level. But it's very great, and don't forget they also can have a USB jack. That included with the package comes a long, I don't know if it's 10 feet. I wrote 10 feet here, but I think it's not 10 feet. It might be 7 or 8 feet. Anyway, it's a USB-C to USB-A cable is included with the camera, and it plugs it in, and your computer thinks it's a webcam. So you can actually use your PTZ camera on Zoom as a webcam. Now they have built in the SRT. Am I set up to go there? Yes, I am. They have built in signal transmission using the various RTSP, RTMP, and SRT are built into the cameras by default. And here, let's take a look at that. So if I was to go to this camera here, and I go to settings, you'll see here that they have the first one is the RTSP. The second one is RTMP and SRT. These are built in, they come with it. This technology is great, and I will be doing a technology version of this video at some point in the very near future, and that will give you an idea of how these work. Now, these all have some degree of latency, delays that involved with them. So these RTMP, RTSP, and SRT all have some degree of latency, and this creates a bit of a challenge if you're doing lip sync and you want videos to do lip sync. Oh, I will mention there is an audio input on the back of these cameras where you can bring in a mini jack. That's the 1/8 mini jack audio. If you bring the audio in from, say, your mixer, your house mixer, or whatever, you bring it into the camera, it will synchronize through the HDMI or the SDI signal or the USB. It'll synchronize and keep your lips and the sound working together. I don't deal with that a lot because I usually don't use that type of a feed. And it's an inconvenience if the camera is located on a wall 30 feet away to have to run a 30-foot length of mini cable. But it is possible. It is possible. Now, a lot of Angikiss's cameras have the option to add in NDI. In fact, a lot of them, all you have to do is a firmware upgrade and add the license fee for NDI, and they're ready to go. But you can buy the cameras from Angekiss with NDI already set to go. It's an add-in. It's not come in standard, but it's a great thing. And if you guys have learned anything about NDI, you know it's a very low latency Ethernet based video transmission method. It's very low. It's not zero latency, but it is extremely low, and it is possible with SDI to do some resemblance of lip sync with your video. It is possible to do it. I'm not going to go into more detail on that because I know that I did an NDI video not that long ago. People have commented about it and said that didn't really give them a clean understanding. I will be doing more NDI because I have started to use NDI more in some of my events, and I'll give you more examples of how that works. So, one of the things that makes these cameras super wonderful is the fact that you can provide power through Ethernet. On the screen here, you see a little box sitting on top of another box. The bottom box is a standard Cisco router, 2.4 or 5G type signal. On top is a smaller box, and it's from TP-Link. It has 5 ports. 4 of the ports are power over Ethernet. They send electricity through the Ethernet, and that is how you can power. So that Ethernet cable sends power and all of the various video signals and the controlling thing all through Ethernet. So even though that's a 5-port, one port is standard data, and the other 4 ports are power over Ethernet. So you can have up to 4 devices, say 4 cameras or 3 cameras and a controller, and then the 5th port creates data, which gives you, like, what's why they have the Cisco router. The Cisco router is providing the DHCP service to the IP numbers and the internet connectivity that is often needed for these cameras. So this is a great way for us to do this. If you have the appropriate controller, be it a software or hardware based, you can control these cameras through the Ethernet. You notice I keep saying Ethernet because the cameras do not have any Wi-Fi built into them, so there's no wireless method to control them. Yes, I have them connected up to a Cisco router, which is a wireless router, and I can connect to them, which I am currently connecting to them via. I can connect to the router by Wi-Fi. I have one of my computers here is connected to it by Wi-Fi. We can do that, but to keep your signals clean and clear, we always recommend Ethernet. And if you're running Ethernet, you want to be sure you have gigabit capable cables. So that means you need to have, at the lowest level, 5E, Cat 5E, but recommended to move into the Cat 6 minimum or Cat 6E, Cat 6 Plus. There's a new one, Cat 7, still not popular on the market. There's even a version 8 coming out, Cat 8. I've never ever seen a Cat 8, and I don't even want to guess what the technology is that makes it. That's the stuff that's a gigabit on steroids. It's like super duper fast. I'm not even sure what its whole technology is, but if you're running Ethernet and if you're running Ethernet cables, try to be sure you absolute minimum you're running 5E on Cat 5E cabling. Preferably you should be running any flavor of Cat 6 or better. And everything will run through that. Don't depend on Wi-Fi because it's not going to give you, you're going to have latency beyond belief. You're going to drop signals. You're going to have so much trouble. Now, I have over the last few years become, I will not call it an expert. I am never an expert in anything, so never look at that. But in my background of looking at PTZ cameras, especially when we acquired the 4 SMT AV cameras, I spent time researching the other ones, including PTZ optics. And one of the things I've found is that I now know what they're supposed to do. I now know some of the quirks and difficulties with working with them. And Angikiss, by sending me these cameras, expressed an interest in finding out what I thought of them. Now, I believe the technology is solid. But this is more because, as I've discovered, lots and lots of companies are getting the technology rebundled in their own brand and their own way, and it's becoming standard. The Chinese manufacturers, I could tell them, hey, I'd like to make a PTZ camera, and I want to put AV Technician on this. It's branding. I could rebrand and do this if I wanted to. It is there. It is not something I'm interested in doing. I'm not interested in rebranding an existing product just to create more beauty with PTZ avtechnician.ca. So Angekiss has opened up an opportunity here that possibly could be good for my future. It could be good for your future. And since there is no current North American distributor, those of you in other countries who might be interested in working with Angikiss might want to reach out to them, go to their website, and see what they have to offer, because you never know. There may be a market. Maybe all you're interested in buying a camera from Angikiss, or maybe you're interested in building the market, sell their product. Some of the established distributor markets out there are limited because they may represent companies already. One of the suppliers for AV gear that I go to, they're already selling PTZ optics, and they can't sell these other brands because it goes against their marketing rules about their license and distribution rules. So now I will be doing a video or two coming up that's going to be a little more technical about how these things work. I'm also going to be taking these 2 cameras to my church this week or next week, setting them up for demonstration purposes to show them the benefits of PTZ cameras and in their whole setup. So this is how I'm planning to move forward with this, and Angikiss may be part of my future. We don't know. We're going to give it a shot. So I'm Paul Donovan, and this is avtechnician.ca. This is your channel of tips and tricks for audiovisual AV technicians. Today I reviewed the Angikiss Sabre 4K Plus camera. Thank you, Angekiss, for sending it to me. Thank you to you for watching. Now, don't forget, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can follow my future videos and my past. And don't forget to comment. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.